So, I cannot pronounce this person's username. There's a G, a D and a Z next to each other, and I'm afraid in English I have no idea how to say that. But Gzi Jest Nemo, should we call him? It seems to be written. Maybe since Witcher 3 is such a hit, make a review from Combat Gear reality angle. Well, as I've mentioned before in videos, and I'm getting asked, I think there's a new game coming out called For Honor or something like that. I'm getting asked quite a lot about certain computer games. And as I've said before, unfortunately I just really don't have time to play computer games. It's not that I've got anything against computer games. The only game I play is Mount & Blade Warband, and I play predominantly online and predominantly the Napoleonic Wars version. I do occasionally play native, but I usually play Napoleonic Wars. And I usually play on the Mini Siege server. If you want to come and find me, I'm known as Captain Alfred Hutton. One word. And yeah, that's pretty much the only thing I get really time to play. So because I don't have time to get into other games, I just tend to just stick with that one game. I occasionally do IL2 Flight Sim online, but I haven't done that for months and months now. So yeah, unfortunately I don't have time to play games much recently. Pretty much all my time is devoted to making videos for you guys, or collecting swords, or doing other things with swords, or talking about swords. Basically it's all sword related, but not many computer games, I'm afraid, these days. So Mel Chaos says, "Hi Matt, if I remember correctly you never finished your video statements regarding the two-handed sword." Ha! Well, since I came home you'll see that I've now got a big two-handed sword, so I've already done a couple of videos about the two-handed sword and there will be more coming. Hedge24 says, "Local weapons museum maybe." Oh, how I wish all local places had a local weapons museum. Unfortunately, weapons in museums are few and far between, and I try to get to every museum I possibly can do that might have some weapons, arms and armour in it. There were no weapons where I was on holiday, unfortunately. Okay, so Calvin Humphreys raises a point which again gets raised by a fair number of people in comments. I think it would be good to discuss who the restrictive blade laws in the UK, I think this is, so I think it would be good to discuss how the restrictive blade laws in the UK affect taking swords on the road with you. Well, that specifically is a rather complicated question, because I'm a fencing instructor, I can basically justify taking swords almost anywhere with me for practice. But before I talk about this, there is a greater question here that comes up a lot in comments, and it's essentially asking me to talk about weapon laws in the UK. There's a very specific reason I don't do that, and that's because under British law, and I think American law as well, people who are not qualified as lawyers and insured to give legal advice should not be giving legal advice, especially not on a YouTube channel, because it could just be that someone gets themselves into legal trouble and says, "Oh well, that Matt Easton of Schola Gladiatoria made a video giving legal advice, and I followed his legal advice, and now you've arrested me and taken me to court, so I'm going to sue him." So basically I can't give legal advice. There are lots of things I can talk about, I could say about British weapons legislation, but unfortunately I can't give anything that's remotely like legal advice. What I would say is go and read it. It's easy to Google the Offensive Weapons Act of 1998 and the subsequent clauses and amendments that have been made to it. There is some fucking stupid stuff in there, okay? It is absolutely ridiculous bit of legislation. But given how British legal system doesn't have a very good history of making sensible weapons related laws, I also think it wouldn't be a good idea for many people to complain about it, because if we all start complaining about it, they might revise it and make it even worse. So at the moment at least we have a functional weapons related set of laws whereby pretty much most people can easily buy and own swords and knives and things like that, as long as you're over 18. And equally, lots of us can shoot guns peacefully. So let's leave the weapons laws alone for now, because they're kind of functional and they kind of, you know, they allow most of us involved in these sorts of hobbies to do our hobbies. But there you go. If you want to know more about British laws and what knives you can legally carry and not carry, and where you can and can't carry knives and things like that, Google the Offensive Weapons Act, I think it is, of 1988. And it's all black and white, and some of it's contradictory, and some of it you might read it and scratch your head and think, what does that bit actually mean? But most of it is fairly clear. Certainly the bits governing what you should and shouldn't do are fairly clear. Equally, if you want to buy curved swords in the UK that are modern, i.e. not antique, the laws for those are fairly clear now. So yeah, essentially, well, I can import curved swords over 50 centimetres because I am a HEMA instructor, and it's not an exemption, it's what's called a defence. But so far, it's been okay for me. So there we go. That's all I'm prepared to say about British weapons related laws, and I don't want to get into politics.